Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, my name is Susan Shin Anderson, if you didn't know. I am the at-large counselor, one of the at-large counselors on the council, and also deputy mayor. And I just wanted to give you a quick welcome. We really appreciate you all coming here because we know that there are a lot of other events happening in town tonight, different fundraisers and things like that. So very, very appreciative that you came out. We have a packed agenda. So I don't want to take up too much time. Lots of great information, and we want to hear from you as well. But before I do, I wanted to just point out that we have a representative from the Montclair, our wonderful Montclair Public Library here. Wave. We love to support our library, and of course, you must know that the library provides so many services free of charge for the community, performances, classes for kids, adult school is there, passport services. They also have a part-time social worker who's there now, thanks to Partners for Health. And so they even have, what is the Wall of Things, or a library of things. So if there's anything that you feel like you need, but you don't want to purchase, you can go check out that area of the library and see if they have what you need for like a one-time thing. And it's great. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to fellow at-large counselor Carmel Luckman. There you go.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming on kind of a rainy night. I'm an at-large counselor and getting larger, I must admit. I think I've gained 10 pounds being on the council so far. It's very stressful, very stressful. Anyway, I've been living in Montclair a long time, 37 years, and have been active in Montclair all those years in different volunteer posts, 9 years on the planning board, and enjoying that very much. The council, it's tough. It's another thing. But anyway, when we started to look for a new town manager, it was shortly after we took our seats on the council. So we were sworn in on July 1st, and right away we got on it, because people think that government works really slowly, and it does, but there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. So we tried to be very thorough in our search for a town manager, hoping that Mr. Marks would stay for a long time. Anyway, so we hired a search firm after looking at not just one search firm, a couple of search firms. We looked at these search firms to make sure that we got the best search firm. Then the search firm, known as Jersey Professional Management. They're specialists in looking for municipal recruitment. They placed advertisements in the New Jersey League of Municipalities, which is like the trade organization site, as well as they did an international search, International City and County Managers Association. And then after that, they did one-on-one interviews with all the council people to see what it is that we think the town manager should be. And they have their own database where they sent out emails to about 1,500 municipal managers throughout this region. In response, they got about 34 resumes from interested candidates. And they did initial interviews they granted interviews to about 9 of those candidates. And they were impressive folks, but Mr. Marks was our man. So with that, just giving you a little background of how we engaged Mr. Marks, he's going to just tell you a little bit about himself.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. So Stephen Marks, my family's originally from Newark. I grew up in South Orange, went to Columbia High School. My family has been coming. My grandmother actually was born in Montclair. My mom was my earliest and fondest memories were coming to Montclair to visit my grandmother. And as a special treat, my mom would take me to Applegate Farm for ice cream. So, I've been coming here a very long time. Grew up in South Orange, Maplewood. So actually, Montclair reminds me a lot of South Orange and Maplewood. So I went to Trenton State College, which is now the College of New Jersey. Graduated in political science, went to Rutgers University, got a master's in public administration, I worked for Hudson County, in Jersey City for about 18 years. Was planning director from working on the planning board, the Open Space Trust Fund Advisory Board, and Economic Development Committee from 2004 to 2012. I left Hudson County, went to Hoboken, the city of Hoboken, in 2012, just before Superstorm Sandy. So I probably spent a good 2 or 3 years in terms of disaster recovery and rebuilding after Superstorm Sandy. So I was in Hoboken for 8 years. Left in 2020, became the town administrator in Kearney, 5 miles away. Was there for 5 years, and I am glad to be here. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to entertain any questions. I'm really happy to be here, and let me know if I could be of any service.
Thanks so much, Mr. Marks, and we are very happy that you said yes. I mean, I think the group, it was a very thorough process. We really tried to look at what, as a body, a governing body, what we thought Montclair as a township needs for right now and the future. And so, we really wanted to get the best possible candidates. We had a number of really great candidates, but we wanted to bring somebody who not only has, the great technical skills, knowledge, experience in executing, executing projects and planning and everything, and also, has some personal qualities that seem to demonstrate some personal qualities that we thought were important. So I'm really glad to have you. So next I'm going to hand it over to Norma Tassi, who's the Director of Administration and Code Enforcement. And she's going to give some information about animals, sidewalks, and safer streets.
Okay. Perfect. Good evening, everybody. How are you? I'm Norma Tassi, and like Councilor Anderson said, I am the Director of Code Enforcement and Administration for the Township. I've been here since March of 2024. I have lived in Montclair my entire life, and I've been active in a number of ways in the town. And being able to be part of such a great staff is just super special to me. And on behalf of personally and on behalf of the staff, we are thrilled to have Mr. Marks join us. The few updates that I want to give you are from a number of different points of view. And so here we go. So there's been a lot of talk in town about the doings at the animal shelter. And I'm here to tell you that the animal shelter is not closing, and it provides a number of really important services to the township that we might not be aware of. So the information that I'm bringing you from the animal shelter is a number of different things, and the puppies are just to catch your attention. Do remember that dogs are not allowed off leash in our public parks. There seems to be, on Saturdays, there seems to be in this park a group of dog owners that kind of circle up and have their dogs on leash, and then in response to that, there's a number of complaints about that. So just know that there's no dogs off leash in our parks. In Montclair, dogs and cats both need to be licensed. There's a small fee that goes with that licensing, and it requires proof of an up-to-date rabies vaccine. It's taken care of at the registrar's office on the 3rd floor. It can't be done online, and I did bring one copy of the license application just so you could see it if need be. But both dogs and cats need to be licensed. Animal control is available 24/7 to residents. And I get the updates about what people call about, and it's everything. This time of the year, there's a lot of baby animals being born. So you want to take care around baby animals. A lot of times, something will happen to the mom, and then people report one lone baby. leave the baby alone and call animal control. And animal control will transport them at no charge to a rehab facility appropriate for that type of animal. Right now that we're getting a lot of bunnies, and right now we're getting a lot of calls about raccoons. So, and then the volume just continues as spring comes on and more babies are born. The animal shelter. And then the last thing there is that for those in need, whether you run a rescue or you're low on resources or you just need help to get through the week, the animal shelter has a dog, cat food, and treat pantry. All you need to do is come to 77 North Willow. There's no questions asked, and there's free breed-appropriate food there for those pets in need. Okay. Sorry. Is it going to be a good picture? The animal shelter is having a rabies vaccine clinic, and I do want to correct the visual. It's open to others besides people in Montclair. So if a friend, a family member that you know needs their dog to be up to date with their rabies vaccines, it's on the 21st from 6 to 7:30 with a 45-minute window for dogs and then a 45-minute window for cats. A licensed veterinarian from Jersey City does it as a service to the community, and then you're good to go to license your pet. Unbelievably, another very frequent call is there's a bat in my home, okay? So if you find a bat in your home, leave the room, close the doors, and call animal control. If you find the bat is found at night, you'll need to go to your doctor. They need to check to see if you were bitten and then, decide on the proper medical course for that. To avoid bats from getting in your house, make sure that there's no crevices in your chimney, and also as the seasons change, if you have a window unit air conditioner, make sure that there's no room in the install area there. But I didn't know we had such a bat problem. Such a problem with bats in the home. If the bat is found at night, it will be taken to our vet of record. It will be tested for rabies. And if it's not rabid, it will be released. If it is rabid, it will be euthanized. Okay. Moving on, this council came in with a real commitment to street safety and traffic calming. These intersections went from 2-way stops to 4-way stops in 2024, and 4 more were just approved at the last council meeting. Those are Midland and Chestnut, Midland and Park, Llewellyn and Harrison and Gates. Those will also be getting 4-way stops in the near future. So rest assured that the council that we have now is committed to street safety, and they have a great partner in our Department of Community Services. The sidewalk ordinance, wherein homeowners are given a violation if their sidewalks were in disrepair, was on pause for about a year's time because of a technicality in the wording of the ordinance. As of April 2nd, we're back in business on sidewalk enforcement. So we have a backlog of about 130 complaints that we're going through now to see if they're sustained or not. And then after that, the streets, as part of the regular patrolling that code enforcement does, that will be part of what they're looking for. The violation, if you get a violation, you have 45 days to cure that violation, and a packet is mailed to the home with the notice of violation indicating the steps to take to cure the violation, and also contractors that work, that the town has confidence in. What will usually happen, so the ordinance can't be weaponized one neighbor against another. If you're living, say, on Burnside right over there, if you complain about your neighbor on Burnside, code enforcement will look at all of Burnside. So what happens then is likely more than one violation. If you go in with your neighbors, you will get a discount on the job. So I think that's all I have to share. And that's it. Questions? Wow. Tell me.
So, I don't live far from here.
Okay.
And the sidewalks are all, when they were initially put in, very beautiful. And now they're just disintegrating. Not just here, but over there and on this side, over on, it's the same sidewalk in Judy Weston Park too, the Watchung Park. Is there something that can be, obviously it needs repair, but is there a way to go back to the original installer? It wasn't that long ago these sidewalks were put in.
I don't think that's something that the township could weigh in on. That you would have to, each homeowner would have to then.
So she's
This
talking
is
about
the
the
town
park.
right here. This is
We're
the
talking about the
park.
park.
Oh,
Right here,
Right
walking
outside.
in. You
Right
can,
out here, the
everybody saw it
sidewalks
walking.
falling apart. Right here. We're not talking about homeowners, we're talking here. Town property.
Okay, let me have code enforcement take a look. Okay, no problem. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
That wasn't
Sir?
clear.
Yeah, I would like to, I live in the corner of Midland and Walnut. I've had baby trucks hit my front porch, I've had one of the maids in my front yard. I've pulled a lady out of a car, I've been there since 1975. I've had the engineers out to the property. We recently got some good response from the engineers, and they're putting us in for Project Vision. I would like to see balusters at all of the corners, all right? They're doing them all over town.
The
Not on just what
delineators.
you're doing, but I'd like to make the point, all right? We have a lot of traffic, if the kids walking back and forth, we have bike Montclair going through that intersection. I've witnessed many, many car accidents, all right? Hopefully not gonna stop happening, but it needs to be enforced strictly, and at least right now, until we can get through the process which we're involved in, I would like to see those balusters they're putting all along Grove Street at the intersections. Come on, it's a cheap fix, easy fix, and it makes the people coming down the street realize something's in the street, realize they start to slow down. It works. Helps.
Yeah, we've had good responses to those are called delineators, those particular pieces. We've had good response to those.
Yeah.
And they come as, my understanding is the installation of those delineators come as part of the installation of the four-way stop, and the four-way stop is on its way at that point.
Thank you.
Awesome. And
Does the code enforcement also consider obstructions to sidewalk passage? I'm speaking specifically about greenery and
Yes.
shrubs and bushes
yes.
that are overgrown.
yes, yes.
There's one particular corner that's a hazard because it's at the corner of Claremont and North Mountain, and in order to pass that area, you either have to walk in the street and hope that you're not in the way of cars.
I'll take it down today and get back to them on that location, and they'll be out within 48 hours. But if you're wondering or whatever, you can you can fill out a form online, or you can call.
I actually had left a message, and I've not heard anybody from your department. I understand now that you have a backlog that you're getting to, but I just wanted to be clear.
If you called, you could rest assured that if you called and you gave a location, you can rest assured that they came out. But I'll check tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So a couple of things, and I'm sorry I didn't catch your last name, so
Tassie.
Task?
Tassie. Tassy. Uh-huh.
Okay, Ms. Tassie.
Yes.
So first of all, I just want to address Mark. I've been a long time resident here, and I was happy to see there was a 711 or a 311 online request. I sent that in about 3 weeks ago and didn't hear back. And before I go into that, I just want to say, Norma,
Yes.
that whatever they're paying you, it's not enough.
Oh,
Because I
that's a nice
counted the number of things that you are handling in the town right now, with the bats and the raccoons and the safety. I think they need to separate, Mark, the safety from all of that, because the safety, first of all,
I'm on a committee with a lot of people, sir, so I'm just reporting out. I could not take credit for all of that.
Do
Believe
you
me.
have a lot of help? Do you have enough help? I'm happy to volunteer. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about most of all is the fact that people who want to get up to Watchung cut the corner into Parkway, which is where I live. And they not only cut the corner in order to avoid the light, they speed down the street, either to drop their kids off at Edgemont or to cut the corner and go to the left. Mostly, to go to the right and go up Valley because they're going through town.
Right.
So, and that's been going on for years, but lately they've been speeding through Parkway so fast. So my 311 recommendation was to change the balance of Edgemont right over here into a one-way street. It would only affect 4 residents over there, and I know all 4. I'm happy to go as a representative to the town and talk to them. Because if they change that one way going this way, then nobody would cut the corner because it would eliminate that.
So let me just, in my mind's eye, I can see what you're talking about. But let me suggest this to you. The team that I alluded to, because again, not doing any of this by myself, the Vision Zero Task Force has its own email address, and it's vision0@montclair.nj. Let me just check that for you on my phone. And if you send what you just said about the changing of the direction, about the thoughts that you had about that intersection, you'll assure yourself that the right people will get that message.
Okay, because in addition to that, what they could do, because this entire zone, as I understand it, is a school zone. When I drive up here, the thing in my car immediately reports school zone, and you have to go 20 miles an hour.
Correct.
At least if we had, and I hate signage, I think it just blurs the beautiful stuff, but if that's what it takes to keep our children alive, because my grandchildren come here quite often.
Right.
And I represent everybody on the block, they feel the same way.
Okay.
So,
Well, your voices are heard.
thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Thank you so much. Yes, so Norma has been a member of the Vision Zero Task Force for the last 18 months and does a really good job. There are a number of people from, and I can talk about that with you later, but the Vision Zero Task Force is made up of Township employees, the Planning Department, Engineering Department, Police, as well as advocates from the biking and walking community. We have people who have been professional transportation planners, and I'm one of the 3 council members who is on the Vision Zero Task Force. We also have county officials, so Brendan Gill and the county engineer are also part of that group, and so we all work together, as Norma said. Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But next up we have Michael Primavera, who is the acting director of utilities. And Councilor Lockman and I wanted to invite Michael because we had the opportunity. Michael invited all the council people back in December to come and visit, and see what they do. And it's just critical. What would we do if we didn't have clean water? We wouldn't be able to take showers. We'd have lead in our water. So I would love to hand the floor over to him, and he can talk about what these utilities do. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As Councilor Anderson said, my name is Michael Primavera. I've been with the town for 6 years now. Started with the Water Bureau as an operations supervisor, and I've worked my way up. A very fun and challenging system to go over. Okay. So essentially what I'm going to tell you about is give you just a little overview of both the water and sewer system and what we do on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people don't understand how much goes into this on a day-to-day basis. So in Montclair, we actually have around 132 miles of water main in the ground in a 6 square mile town. Your water main ranges from 80 to 100 years old. We maintain 2 main pump stations. Your Grove Street pump station, which is by the Montclair Beach Club or across the street from the cemetery, it's where all the water from Montclair comes in. So being at the lowest point in town, it creates a challenge of we have to pump it up to multiple locations in order to get the water throughout the town. So we are allotted a safe yield from North Jersey Water District, which is how much water we can take a day, of 4.7 million gallons a day. We are 5% owners at North Jersey Water District. We also lease an extra 1 million gallons a day, which brings our safe yield to 5.7 million gallons. That pump station pumps water up to our Watchung Ave pump station, which is right around the corner from here. Our Watchung Ave pump station maintains our middle pressure zone, which is a very large area, which I'm going to show you on a map in the upcoming slides, and then up to our high pressure zone, which is from North Mountain Ave and above. We also have 3 municipal wells constructed. We have 2 that are currently active. Glenfield Well, which is located behind the Glenfield School. That was the first well that had carbon absorbers put on it to eliminate PFAS. That came back online in 2018. This was before there was an MCL. The former director wanted to be ahead of the curve, so he actually put it in beforehand. The other one that just came online is the Lorraine Well over here by De Novo. The Lorraine Well came back online in 2022, and that is in our high pressure zone. Our next well to come online is Rand Well over by the high school. We are working to get that in place. We got a $2 million grant to reconstruct that well. That well has an emerging contaminant of not only PFAS but perchlorates in it, so it creates a little more of a challenge for us. Like I said, within the system we have 3 pressure zones, your high, your middle, and your low. If you include Glen Ridge, who we are also the licensed operators of, we have 4 pressure zones we maintain. Throughout Montclair, there's 1,116 fire hydrants. All 1,116 fire hydrants are flushed every year. We test them, we grease them, we ensure they drain, so that way if there is a fire, they can pull up to anyone and not have to worry about it. We also oversee 10,635 domestic connections, and that is only going up as people continue to build. We have 2 water storage facilities. There's one on the border of Montclair and Cedar Grove that is our high service tank. That is a 2.5 million gallon tank. That was built in the 1930s. It is a steel riveted tank. It will need some addressing in the future. We also have our low service reservoir, which is an underground reservoir. That is a 1.5 million gallon reservoir. That serves our low pressure zone. You can go to the next one. So here is just a layout of our elevations of everything we have. This is kind of like a small system overview. If you look over here, you can see this is Grove Street Pump Station. It's essentially at the lowest point in town. So this is where all your water comes in, and we have to actually raise it to this elevation here just to fill the high service tank. It creates a very large challenge in the fact that we rely on electricity, we rely on pumping to move this water constantly. Without the pump station operational, water would not be able to be moved throughout the town. Like I said, you can see the low service reservoir off to the left-hand side, all our wells. You can go to the next one. So these are our pressure zones like I was explaining. This right here, this is our high pressure zone, so it's essentially North Mountain and up to the border of Montclair. Our largest pressure zone is obviously the middle pressure zone. That's this green area. That is our largest zone. That is controlled by 2 50 horsepower pumps that constantly pump on a PID loop. They never shut off. They're always running to ensure water is going throughout the middle pressure zone. And then here is our low pressure zone here. This is mainly fed by Grove Street Pump Station, and it just feeds, and again, the low reservoir also controls it. You can go to the next one. So a little bit about our Grove Street Pump Station. Like I was saying, it's our main pump station in town. It's where all the water comes in, all our allocation. There are 4 pumps there controlled by variable frequency drives, which speed the pumps up and slow them down based on filling cycle, demand, things like that. They will automatically be controlled. There are 2 500 horsepower pumps capable of moving around 8 million gallons a day each. One of these is primarily used in the warmer months to meet the high demand, sprinklers, everything else, the extracurriculars. And you also have 2 250 horsepower pumps capable of moving 4.5 million gallons a day. These pumps are used in the colder months in tandem. They usually come on in December, and we'll shut them off around March. And they can handle the demand in the colder months, and there's no reason to run the larger pumps. So we use them. And then we have Grove Street. How we discharge our pressure is based on the low service reservoir. So when we are filling our low service reservoir, we discharge anywhere from 110 to 114 PSI. That is coming off the pumps. When we're dropping it, it's anywhere from 95 to 102 based on time of year and how quickly we want to exchange the water for water quality. There's also an auxiliary diesel pump in this pump station. That motor and pump is capable of moving 18 million gallons a day. If need be, that motor can actually, if we have zero suction pressure coming in from the aqueduct, that motor is actually capable of pulling water to the pump. That's how powerful it is. So in the event of major power outages, anything like that, we're always ensured that your taps will turn on. You can go next. Our Watchung pump station, it's responsible for our largest pressure zone, our middle pressure zone. Again, like I was saying, it's a constantly pumped zone. 250 horsepower pumps, also controlled off VFDs. They maintain the pressure, and we discharge from there constantly at a pressure of 76. We found that that's the safest way. Because of the topography in Montclair, at the highest point in the low pressure zone, you're around 45 to 50 PSI, the middle pressure zone, but at the bottom, you're around 135 to 140 PSI because of Montclair is on a hill, so at the bottom, the pressure gets higher, can create issues if you go any higher than a 76 PSI discharge. Our high pressure zone, which is the pumps are also located at our Watchung pump station. There are 3 pumps that can control the high pressure zone. The lead pump is a 250 horsepower pump. That pump is capable of pumping around 4.5 million gallons a day. Those pumps are based on the height of the tank. When the tank drops to a point where we are satisfied with the water exchange, it's between 36.5 and 34.5 feet usually. The pump will come on, fill that up. It can only go up to about 46.5 feet before it'll overflow. So that's where we bring it to. And then we have a backup 250 horsepower pump and a backup 300 horsepower pump. The 300 horsepower pump we will run in the summertime to meet demand again. Sprinklers at 3 a.m. come on. It looks like the Bellagio in Montclair. It's like a green lawn contest. So it creates a lot of stress on our systems. You can actually watch our tank levels start to drop at 3 in the morning. It's pretty interesting. Watchung pump station also has an auxiliary pump. That pump is capable of pumping 12 million gallons a day if there's a major power outage. If there is a major power outage where the Watchung pump station goes down, that pump will actually pump water into our high pressure zone. And then we have 7 pressure regulators that'll open between the high and middle pressure zone to bleed water down, so everyone will always be fed water in the event of an emergency. Next slide. These are the split case pumps. You're looking at 2 500 horsepower pumps at our Grove Street pump station there. We maintain these pumps yearly. They're on a monthly greasing schedule. What we'll do is these casings here, the top parts here, we actually, in the winter months, we will pull these off and we will inspect the impellers to ensure there's no wear, there's no cavitation, there's nothing that needs to be redone before we get back to the summer months. Our motors are serviced regularly. We have them come in and measure them and just check them to ensure that they're running at the proper ranges. Again, all to ensure that the water is moving. You can go next one. That is our 18 million gallon a day auxiliary diesel pump. That is a Caterpillar D398 motor from the 70s. It runs like it's brand new. It's got none of the extracurriculars on it like you see today, so we don't have a lot of problems with sensors and things like that. And I tell you, it's got us a number of jams. So we love that thing. It's fantastic. Good. What you're looking at here is from our allocation permit that has to be submitted to the state every 10 years. Those are our 4 permitted and drilled wells, 3 of which are constructed. Obviously, Nishwain well is a hot button issue. But we have the Rand well, which is capable of pumping 400 gallons per minute. Glenfield well is capable of pumping 600 gallons a minute. Lorraine well is 400 gallons a minute. And Nishwain well is actually capable of pumping 1,200 gallons a minute. Nishwain well, during the initial pump tests, they ran out of pump, not water. So that's how much water is actually in that part of the aquifer. All 3 wells were actually put offline in 2015. We have the DEP and the EPA implement rules once every so many years, which is the UCMR rule, which is the unregulated contaminant monitoring rule. UCMR 3 was the first time PFAS came into the picture. So once the wells were tested in Montclair and it was found to have high levels of PFAS, they were shut off. That's actually when we started leasing the extra 1 million gallons from North Jersey Water District to make sure we did not overdraft on our allocation. Glenfield Well and Lorraine Well are obviously back online now. They run in the third quarter to help meet demand. And again, we're working to get Randwell back up and running hopefully in the next 2 years. What you're looking at there is our well treatment for PFAS and VOCs. So the larger silver towers you see are air stripper towers. So the water will actually come in the top here, goes in here, and air actually blows up, and that's to remove volatile organic compounds or VOCs. What you see back here and here, these are the carbon vessels. Each one of those vessels holds 20,000 pounds of virgin carbon. 20,000 pounds, the price has obviously gone up as this has gone more in demand, but they work very well. We find that they're on a 3-year average before we have to exchange them. Now, what we don't know is, and what we're trying to figure out is, are we removing the PFAS at a point where at some point it'll be gone? We're not sure. You know, you talk to anybody who's an expert in this so far, they can't even tell you where the PFAS sits in the water. Does it, when it dilutes, does it sink? Does it float? No one knows. It's all a guessing game still. So we're still working through this. This is a new thing for everybody. You can go to the next one. Again, just the going over the tanks, our high service tank, which is 1-day storage and fire protection for the high and middle pressure zone. It's a 2.5 million gallon tank. Steel riveted tank built in the early 1930s. It's filled through Watchung Ave pump station. Like I said, serves as fire protection and 1-day storage. Our low service reservoir was underground concrete reservoir, 1.5 million gallons. That's filled through Grove Street Pump Station. And again, serves as fire protection and 1-day storage for the low pressure zone. Also for Glen Ridge. You can go to the next one. Montclair Water Bureau also took over SOARS in 2006. Previously, SOARS was run by the Department of Public Works. We took it over in 2006. There are over 100 miles of public sewer system within Montclair. Again, for a 6 square mile town, it's a lot of pipe in the ground. The entire system is flushed by our 3 members of our sewer crew yearly. So they go end to end every year and ensure that each pipe is cleaned to try and avoid any backups or major issues. We also have critical areas, you know, around Bloomfield Ave, Glen Ridge Ave, restaurant areas where we hit them monthly to ensure that no grease buildup occurs. Again, our goal is to mitigate interruptions for the public, right? So it's always to be proactive rather than reactive for us. About 1/3 of the sewer system has been lined with cure-in-place pipeliner. CIPP, what they do is they insert, it's a fabric they insert and they reinflate it with steam. And what it does is actually renews the life of this line, because a lot of your sewer is 90 to 100 years old. It's old clay pipe, it's porous, it's brittle. It's essentially outlived its useful life. So what we're doing is by putting this liner in, we're renewing the life without having to excavate the streets. You get more bang for your buck by doing it this way. Whereas when we replace a water main, the same cost gets you maybe a mile of pipe. Where we can do, this year we're doing about 47,000 feet of cleaning in the sewer system and around 20,000 feet of lining for under $1 million. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck when you do this liner. You can go to the next one. That is our sewer flusher truck you'll see out on the street. Like I said, we have 3 members of our sewer department who are out every day, especially in the warmer months, flushing the entire system. They respond to emergencies, again, because we are a 24/7 operation. You know, we have an expectation for you guys to not have interruptions, so we're always available. And if you have a sewer issue, this is the truck you will see. That truck holds 1,500 gallons of water, so that truck can make multiple passes without having to be pulled off to be refilled. There are some of the sewer lining we've done so far. Again, 100 miles of pipe, we maybe done 1/3 of it. A lot of what you see is our critical areas that we found over time, either through backup areas or through the flushing that is done. Our sewer foreman will come back to us and say, hey, I'm pulling a lot of dirt, or hey, I can't make a lot of passes through this part of pipe. It may be collapsed, we may have an issue. We will add it to our project list for the next time we go out to line pipes. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you for the presentation and for all the amazing work you do. I know you're very responsive whenever I've called you. I really appreciate that. Could you just elaborate, well, 2 things. One, could you elaborate when you talk about the PFAS and how well our carbon filtration system is actually serving that or filtering that out. I thought you said something about we weren't sure about.
Well, what we weren't sure about is what the PFAS is doing in the raw water, right? Are we removing it? Is it something that's going to stay forever? It's such a new topic that we're unsure of what's going to happen in the future, is what I was saying by that. Our carbon filters, we put it out when we test it, we have a lab come in, they test the raw water that's coming out of the aquifer, they test post vessel 1 because you have 2 vessels on each well. You have a primary and then you have a buffer which guarantees that you'll have no breakthrough entering the system. So they test the raw water, they test post vessel 1 to see how much vessel 1 is removing, then we test final water. We always get a non-detect on our final water, and once we start to see breakthrough on any contaminant that is regulated, obviously, we will then look into changing out the carbon to ensure that we have no breakthrough and we don't put any contaminated water into the system.
Thank you. And just really quickly, are there other emerging contaminants or unregulated contaminants that might become detected or be on the regulated list?
So we actually just completed UCMR 5. UCMR 5, they're calling them Gen X chemicals, I believe. There's about 60 contaminants on that list that we just tested for. We just finished it in January of 2025. We had to do 4 rounds of sampling. In terms of what our vessels achieved, I believe we removed about 99% of it. So what we have in place now would handle what they would put on as a regulated contaminant. Another contaminant that's emerging is perchlorates. Perchlorates was used in jet fuel. It's something that's used in jet fuel. The reason we see it at Randwell is, from what I was told, is that actually the Public Works building at one time was a military turnaround depot for the train station, and jet fuel would come through there and it was being spilled, so that's how it ended up in our aquifer. Another thing that we're going to have to be on the lookout for is 1,4-dioxane. The DEP is bringing that up a lot. Means it's coming. Anytime they start talking about something, we are going to have to start accounting for it.
I wanted to ask about the replacing the lead or galvanized pipes.
Yes.
Is that something, I mean, I don't know, we got a notice about it a while ago. My husband took a picture of the connection and sent it in. So is it something where you will be in touch with people who need them replaced?
Yes. So what we're doing is we just started second round of the project. We did one last year. We're doing another one this year. The goal of that project is to finalize all inventory on the homeowner side. We still have about 700 to 800 unknown service materials on the homeowner side. So what we're doing is we're having a meter contractor reach out to them directly. We'll get a good response. Once we have a finalized list of how many we have, we can actually come up with a plan on how to mitigate it, come up with 3 plans and present it to council and see what they find is the best one. But without a finalized list, we can't really come up with a plan. As of right now, the known number of letter galvanized we have on the homeowner side is only around 160 out of 10,000. So we're doing okay, but it's something we'd like to have a plan by the end of this year to start, have a finalized list by the end of this year start coming up.
Michael, how are you testing to find out whether you got it from where next to meter? The line comes in the house to the meter, you check and you put.
So you do a visual test. You can scratch it.
Yeah.
If you scratch it, a lot of times if it's a gray color, it's a letter galvanized. There's instructions that we send out and tell you how to self-certify. We do have an email address. Do I have lead at Montclair.org? Picture that. People always ask us why, because the state ever comes and audits us. It's all on one email address that giving you. Rather than being all over the place, we just pull it up and say, here you go, here's everybody's information. It was a kind of a fail-safe for us to protect ourselves. But yeah, you can self-test, and if you guys reach out to us, and
Scratch is the easiest.
Yeah, scratch is the easiest way. You scratch the pipe. If it looks like a penny, it's copper. If not, it might be something else.
They dug up the grass just off the street. There's a hole there, and does that mean they tested it?
Yes. So what we also do, another way we're testing them, is if we have unknown on the homeowner side and our side, we will go dig a hole at your curb box, and we can verify both sides by doing that. What we do is we clear 18 inches on your side, 18 inches on our side, to ensure that what we're seeing is the proper material, because sometimes what they do is they'll make small repairs. If you make it too small, you won't be able to actually tell what it is.
I just wanted to give you a plug, and I didn't know this, so I had a problem in my house where when I put on my clothes washer, the pipes would hammer. You know, and it's called hammering, I guess. And I called the plumber didn't know how to fix it. I called Michael, and he came and he walked in my house and he knew exactly what was wrong. It needed an attachment to, the water pressure was off. So the plug I'm giving is that there are services that you provide. A lot of this stuff we see is invisible, but there are services that his department provides if you need them. So,
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna have you come.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Yeah, please. So as you can see, it's so technical and it's so complicated, and he has a great department, everyone who works there. And we also found out that in the whole state of New Jersey, there are only a handful of people who are certified and qualified to do what Michael does. So I think we're very fortunate. Yes. So, okay, so our next presenter is Janice Talley, the Director of Planning and Community Development, and she's going to talk about...
All right, good evening, everybody. You might have heard Montclair Township, like every other municipality in the state of New Jersey, is in the process of preparing what's known as a fair share plan. If you go to the next slide, this is nothing new. The state of New Jersey has, through case law and regulations, been addressing affordable housing since the 70s. And in fact, if you caught an article in the New York Times earlier this year, it did say we've been over four decades, New Jersey has successfully built over 70,000 affordable homes. The question is that enough? What we're doing is called the fourth round Housing Element Fair Share Plan that Montclair is working on. Montclair's been very diligent about planning for affordable housing over the 4 decades that we've been required to do so. So this is our fourth housing plan. If you go to the next one. So what is a fair share plan? And I have a very technical definition here. This is from the latest version of the regulations. It's a plan with the accompanying ordinances, resolutions, spending plans, program manuals, etc., by which a municipality proposes to satisfy its obligation for affordable housing or to create a realistic opportunity for affordable housing. And I'm not going to go through the rest of it. But that's, in a nutshell, that's what the Fair Share Plan is. If you go to the next slide. So let me start off with what is affordable housing, because affordable housing is very strictly defined in the state of New Jersey. It's housing that is affordable to households making less than 80% of the median housing income, the median income for your housing region. We're in Housing Region 2, which includes Union and Morris and Warren counties, as well as Essex County. And it includes 3 different stratifications. We have to provide housing for the very low-income households. Those are making less than 30% of the median income. We have to provide housing for low-income households, and those are households that make less than 50% of the median income. And we have to provide housing for moderate income households, and they make 50 to 80%. And I have a chart that shows you what those incomes are coming up. So, but before I get to that, let me talk about what is included in a fair share plan. When we did our third round plan back in 2009, we are one of the very few municipalities in the state of New Jersey that got it certified by the state, by what was then called the Council on Affordable Housing, and they're no longer in existence. So in 2008, 2009, when we got our plan approved, we had to build or provide for 162 units of additional housing, new affordable housing created, and it had to meet all kinds of criteria in terms of affordability controls and bedroom sizes, et cetera, et cetera. We did, since then, build 150 of the affordable units that were in our plan. There were 6 units that were not built. Now, 6 of the planned affordable units were not built, reducing the total number of affordable units to 184. So we had 184 units that were actually built. So we met our need of 162 units. That gives us an excess units of 153 units. We were very successful between 2009 and now in continuing to require affordable housing as part of our development activities, partnering with various organizations such as Home Corps in the town to create or to produce affordable housing. So where we sit today is we have excess credits, 153 credits of affordable housing that was created that can be used to meet our 4th round obligation. Now, as an urban aid municipality, which we are, according to the new regulations, our obligation for affordable housing is 0 for newly created affordable units. If you go to the next slide, Rick, thanks. But we do have what's called a present need obligation, and that means units that need to be rehabilitated. Those are units that are deficient. They may be units that don't have full plumbing, full kitchens, because of their age, because they're overcrowded. The state calculated the number, and we have what's called a present need of 132 units. If you go to the next slide. So 132 units is what our obligation is. We have 143 credits from the previous, excess credits from the previous round. So technically, we've met our obligation because those 143 units that we built can be used to actually address those 132 unit obligation. So in a nutshell, that's what the framework is for the plan that we're in the process of preparing. So let me just go back a little bit in terms of when we talk about affordable housing. These are the income requirements by household size as to who lives in affordable housing. It can be a one-person household who makes no more than $27,000 a year. That's very low income, and we have to provide a certain number of units for very low income. Well, we would if we had an obligation, but we don't have an obligation. Low income would be a one-person low-income household would be $45,000. A one-person moderate income household would be $72,000. Whereas the larger household sizes, if you have 5 or 6, if it's a 5-person, very low-income household would be at $41,000 per year. A low-income household with 5 people would be at $70,000, well, $69,000. And a moderate-income household with 5 people would be $111,000. So it goes up to $120,000 depending upon $1,000 per year, depending on household size. That's it. It's the number of persons per household and what's your household income. That's how we stratify who is eligible for affordable housing. If you go to the next slide. As we prepare our housing plan and look at we need to look at where we are demographically to determine what our needs are. And as part of our analysis, we did determine that Montclair's racial composition, which has always been very distinctive. We've always had a fairly significant Black and African American population. That has declined. And in fact, the Black African American population decreased by over 900 people between 2010 and 2020. That's a 9% decline. It was offset by the classification of Black and other races, which is a new census metric, by adding 569 individuals as defined that way. So it has declined, but not as much as you would think by just reading that first statement. At the same time, our Hispanic and Latino population has experienced a significant increase. adding over 1,600 people between 2010 and 2020, and the Asian population as well has increased over that same time. Our population is aging. I'm sure that's no surprise. The baby boom generation is getting older. So the percent of population aged 60 to 84 experienced the most significant growth, adding over 2,000 people between 2013 and 2023. We also have seen an increase in the number of older school-aged children between the ages of 10 and 19. Over that same time period, we added almost 1,100 children in that age group. If you go to the next slide. So just some highlights from all of the data tables that we have in our draft housing plan. The median household income rose from $74,000 in 2000 to $166,000 per household by 2023. That's a lot. That's a lot. Montclair is getting wealthier. The percentage of individuals living below the poverty line increased from 5.6% in 2000 to 6.6% in 2020. The gap, the income gap is increasing. As our people living below poverty, that has increased. Let's ignore household sizes. I have not corrected that one. Household sizes have not changed all that much. There's been some change. I conflated some numbers, so I have to correct that one on my slide. The disabled population did increase slightly. It increased, adding between 200 and 300 individuals between 2000 and 2020. Again, this goes to the special needs population. We need to make sure that we have housing opportunities for people with special needs. And the unsheltered population has increased as well. We've, when we did the last census, those two censuses of the homeless or unhoused population, it's between 40 and 60 individuals who are unhoused. So that's one side, the demographics and the income, and then we also have to look at the housing stock to determine, does our housing stock meet the needs of the people who are here? And this is just simple facts. 60% of our housing stock is owner-occupied, 40% is renter-occupied. Single-family detached homes are 50% of our housing stock. Obviously, multifamily homes, there's the other 50%. We do have quite a variety of housing types. If you look through, I don't know if you can read this because the coloring is a little off, but two-family houses, 15% of our housing stock's two-family houses, 9% are classified as small apartment buildings, 3 to 4 units. I guess I should say multi-unit buildings. It's really not an apartment building. Medium multifamily buildings, 5 to 9 units, that's 6% of our stock. Larger multifamily buildings, 10 to 19 units is 6%. And then I think what you've seen being developed over the last 10 years or so, very large multifamily buildings with 20 plus units, that's 14% of our housing stock. It's pretty diverse, honestly. So if you go to the next the next slide. This is the critical part, housing affordability. The median value of a house in 2010 was $600,000. By 2023, the median value of a house was $850,000. When I met with the tax assessor earlier this year, the average value of a single-family house in Montclair right now is almost $1.04 million. That's a lot of money. Can you imagine how much money you need to buy a house in Montclair? It's pretty significant. Compared to, in 2010, the median monthly rent was $1,281. By 2023, it was over $2,000. This is a monthly rent, and that was a 60% increase. So comparing, we're focusing on rents. Obviously, it's really difficult to find a starter home in Montclair and afford to buy a house. But in looking at the renters, in 2023, over 42% of the renters are cost burdened. That means over 42% of the people who are renting in Montclair are spending more than 30% of their income on housing. And that's significant. Compared to in 2010, it was 33%. So that's a 10% increase in terms of cost-burdened renter households. So if you want to go to the next slide. I think we've already gone over this. What I tried to point out here is the median rent in Montclair is $2,045 a month. What I've highlighted in the bottom, a one-person and two-person moderate income household cannot afford to pay. Moderate income household cannot afford to pay that rent. None of the very low income households can afford to pay that rent, and none of the low income households can afford to pay that rent. It just gives an idea of the disconnect between the income, the average income, and the incomes that we see, and what the rents are in Montclair. Go to the next slide. So how has Montclair been addressing this over the past 10 years? We have addressed it through redevelopment. Obviously, it's the most visible way that we've had so far of providing affordable housing, and all the redevelopment projects, mostly along Bloomfield Avenue that you've seen. Some have 10% of those units are affordable. Some of them, 20% are affordable, depending upon the redevelopment plan or if it was done through our zoning ordinance. But that created 156 units of affordable housing that we have provided. We have an inclusionary development ordinance in which any development application that creates more than 5 net dwelling units, 20% of those units have to be affordable. So we've created 12 units through that program. 100% affordable housing, we've partnered with HomeCore in the past, and that's led to the creation of nine dwelling units in the township. Our Market to Affordable program, again, we've partnered with HomeCore, where they purchase the units, renovate the units, and they either rent them or quite often sell them as affordable units. We created 40 units through that program. We already had 181 units. Those are the buildings that were built in the 70s and the 80s for lower income households. We have 294 units of senior housing in 4 different locations. We have 40 units of alternative living arrangements. That includes supportive housing, special needs housing that's scattered throughout the township. And then we do have 43 units where there were existing affordable units. Their deed restrictions on those for those affordability controls expired in the past 10 years. And we were able to extend those affordability controls. So overall, we have 775 affordable units. And I think, is this my last slide? I think it is. Yeah. So this is the groundwork. And what the planning board and the council are working on right now, working with the public, is to try and find out what should we do over the next 10 years to provide affordable housing in Montclair. What kind of units do we need? Where should they be located? What programs or policies should we expand, get rid of? That's the subject. The deadline for us to adopt the plan is June 30th of this year, and that is why we've had quite a few meetings and a lot of these discussions, and we have the survey that Councilor Lockman will talk to you about. So yes, we're here to hear. I mean, I would like to hear what people think, and I'm not going to talk about specifics tonight. We're going to have a series of meetings with proposals coming up, but I do like to hear what people think with their suggestions on what kind of housing we should have, where it should be located, and what you think the needs are moving ahead. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
Or comments, or suggestions? Thank you.
I was astonished by all that data, but I was most astonished by the more people who have more money moving into town and the price of the homes going up in town.
It's
so
shocking,
it is shocking. I mean, I know I've observed it, but that's really shocking, that number. So I don't really quite, I have no thoughts on how you're going to fix this, but I did have a question about, does the town have property that's not being used that could be possibly used for building additional living that the town could require all of it to be affordable, you know? Or
And the answer to that is yes, we're looking into that.
okay, good.
That's one suggestion, yeah.
The number of households over 60 has increased. Is that because more people are aging in place, or are people moving into town who are...
I have not done the analysis to figure out if they're moving in or moving out. I think it's just that population cohort, whether there is just larger than anything else. It's the baby boom generation. Some people are moving out. When I looked at the numbers went down between like 55 and 60 or 65, whatever that age cohort is. That went down. So people reach 55 and they move out. Then you go above that, and those next age cohorts are increasing. And I think that's because it's just a numbers game. There's more of us. And I've included myself in that.
Thank you. So next up is Councilor Lockman, and she's going to talk about a survey that the Economic Development Committee and the Planning Department have been putting together.
Okay. So how many people have done their survey? Raise your hand. Ooh, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. That's it. And then I can just move it forward. How do I do that?
You're gonna have to do that.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So if you've done your survey, you'll recognize this. If you haven't done your survey, there's little... okay, oh yeah, there's flyers around, and you can look at the QR code, and that'll get you to the spot where you can do your survey, Suzanne. Anyway, so as Susan said, the Economic Development Committee, which is a subcommittee of the council, got together and said, hey, we need data, we need information, we need to know what you think. Some people are shy about stepping up and raising their hand and talking about things at a planning board meeting or a council meeting. So the best way to do this is through, we felt, a survey. And so the goals of the survey, I said, is to get to the pulse of what the residents think about affordable housing. Because bear in mind, sorry.
Yeah, quick question. With affordable housing, are you just referring to rentals?
No, we have some buy programs, but Janice could tell you more about that. Yeah. We have some affordable housing programs where people can buy the units. They're few and far between, but it's more rentals, yes.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
There's a lot more rentals.
Yeah. Yes, it's more about rentals.
When we reopen the waiting list, we had to close it for now, but we will reopen it this spring. And
Yeah. Yeah. And also HomeCore, I think, still has a new buyers program, if you're interested in that. Yeah. Anyway, so just to get to the housing survey, as I said, the Economic Development Committee, which is a subcommittee of the council, put together this survey with it was a team effort. So we had myself, Suzanne, Amina Toller, Lisa Johnson is here, Matt Amaral. I don't want to miss anybody. I think that's, well, the group got together and we had a document. We thought about it very, very deeply to figure out what questions, what information can we get from people, what do we need to know. Because we don't need to have any more affordable housing built in town. We've met our quota. The quota is 775 units. I'm sorry, the quota is whatever it is, but we've met it with our 775 units. So we do not need affordable housing technically in town. But we need to know, what do people think with that number out there? What do you want to do? Do you want to continue to try to build affordable housing? So we wanted to take the pulse of the community and figure that out. So we had a survey through SurveyMonkey. It was raised that it cost $7,500, but that's the annual fee to use SurveyMonkey. We can do other surveys with that. It's not the fee for just doing this survey, because the social media lights up. You spent what to do this survey? Well, we spent that to get the ability to do surveys throughout the next year. So I just reiterated some of the things about what affordable housing means here, which Janice also did. We had a wide distribution of this survey. We tried very hard to send it all over town through all kinds of outlets. We had the League of Women Voters sent to their mailing list, the NAACP sent to their mailing list. I think the students in schools got in their backpack the flyer about it, or at least the code that they could look up. We had contacts that we know in the sports area, our personal contacts. We all ran for election. We have contacts, So we tried really hard to get it widely distributed. And we will have a paper copy mailed as part of another mailing, so people, hopefully some renters, because the hard people to get are renters. They're, it's a difficult segment. But so thus far, as of today, and this is a really interesting number, and it's a great number. We've gotten 1,700 responses. It's a really good number. Yeah, and the survey will close at the end of April. And it's a good number because statistically, roughly 700 returns would have been statistically valid number with a 99% confidence level that we had a meaningful survey. So getting like 1,700 is absolutely terrific. What else do I want to say here? Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we have a wonderful person in town who is really good at doing data analysis. She's back there, Dr. Johnson. And actually, I even had a statistics class in graduate school, which I liked very much. But we're going to do a statistical analysis of the information that we get. If we need to weight it to get more valid data, we'll do that. If we do have to do a regression analysis on it, we'll do that. But we're really hoping and trying very hard to make sure the data that we get reflects the responses from all over town with every demographic. And I'm not going to reveal any of the responses yet, though I've seen some, and it's quite interesting, really. What I'm just going to go through is next. Yeah. Okay. So, I think if you've taken this, you've seen, this is what I just said. There's 785 units that we have, and how much do you agree that we need more? Not everybody thinks we need more affordable housing. There's a cost to affordable housing. And people will say, yes, I want affordable housing, but no, I don't want my taxes raised. So it's an interesting dilemma, I guess. Okay. The next question was, what are your concerns? Now, oh no, you pressed the wrong thing. It went, no, it went to the, oh, I'm sorry, it did. Okay, sorry that, yeah. I can't, go down a bit. Oh no. Can you go back? Go back. Go back, yeah. Can you go back? Yeah, okay. You have to make sure that you press yes there. Okay, so we asked people, do you agree we need more affordable housing? Strongly, not at all, whatever. But so if you agree that you would want to increase the number of affordable housing units, then, next slide. We asked what ward do you live in? I think that's not going to the right place, unfortunately. No, okay, so I'll just talk about it. So, unfortunately, it's not going to the right place. If you said that you wanted to increase the number of affordable housing units in Montclair, or you did not want to increase the number of units, we asked you, what are your concerns about building affordable housing? And we gave you some options. Some of them are housing in general, not just affordable housing. It could increase traffic. There's a strain on public services. There could be a change in your neighborhood character. You increase the neighborhood density. These are all issues that people have, that we hear about, so we're trying to see, are these anecdotal? Are there a body of people that agree with some of these statements? What is the cost to taxpayers? And does it decrease your property values having affordable housing? And do you mourn the loss of open space? That could happen too. The next question was, we asked people to rank who they think has the greatest need for affordable housing. And we went through seniors, as a category, low-income families, young adults, single parents, people with disabilities, veterans, or homeless population. Yeah, so there's a lot of different categories, so people have to decide what they think is the most important. The next one, how important do you think it is to prioritize affordable housing in Montclair's future development plans? So there are some areas, we saw that from Janice's slide, that the most, profitable way to, not profitable, but the maximum way to maximize affordable housing, large developments seem to be the way to go. So that's kind of like, what do you think is important? So we're asking, development, is it important to you? And we have very important, somewhat important, not important, and not at all important. So the next question would have been, would you support changes to Montclair zoning laws to allow for increased affordable housing development? And that would be, change the zoning laws to allow, mixed use or 2 or 3 family homes in a 1-family zone. This is an area of controversy to people. People don't like to see their neighborhood changing. We thought that was the case. Now, when we look at the results, we'll see what people really think, right? And just to give you a clue, it's not really what I thought it might be. As I see I've seen some of these results. We'll have an unveiling, so to speak, when we'll tell everybody after we've digested the data. Okay, and then we asked them, how familiar are you with the following housing-related terms? And the terms were, and I'm sure some of you are very familiar with these, accessory dwelling units. Who knows what an accessory dwelling unit is? Raise your hand. Ooh, I would have thought more. Yeah, granny flats. Inclusionary zoning. Who knows what inclusionary zoning is? Ooh, it's going down. Okay. How about, redevelopment plans? A redevelopment plan. That's when the town would declare an area in need of redevelopment, and then they develop a plan to address that. Yeah, like Lackawanna Plaza. Yeah, all right. How about, we all know what rent control is, right? Yes, which is a great thing for tenants. It hasn't been there that long. So, you wonder when you see the statistic that tenants are paying more than 30% of their rent. I don't know. It just makes me wonder, because rent control has been around for, I think, 2 years. Yeah. Oh, no, the new, right. They're exempt. No, anything built after 1987. And that's not a bad thing. People say, oh, they're not. But the idea of that statute was to encourage builders to build housing. I know, they're rent control exempt. I have a problem with rent control in general. I'm not going to go into it. I do. But anyway. I know, or my insurance goes up 25%. But the rent control, if it's 4% for everybody except seniors. Seniors, it's 2.5% increase. And that's a problem in my view, because technically the court has said you cannot discriminate between everybody and seniors. So if someone wanted to challenge that 2.5%, they could. But we haven't had them do that yet. And the other thing, who on earth would rent to a senior if they have 5 equally qualified people? And I can get 4% for a young couple, or someone's like me, they're old. No one's going to rent to me if they're only going to get 2.5%. It's just illogical. Yes, you can't have a pattern of discrimination, right? If you do this every time you rent, if you're a big landlord. But if you're a small landlord, I'm going to go with the guy who's going to give me 4% increases every year, right? Your tax base goes up, and as I said, my insurance went up 25%. Yeah, public service is going up. Everything goes up, but you're capped at this. Our costs go up. Yeah, absolutely.
This, and I'm just going to open my big mouth now. We have to, as a community, start thinking out of the box, all right? And we have to stop thinking about just raising taxes on all the property to do this, all right? There's other ways we have to think out of the box, invest in tax credits, getting nonprofits involved. Janet already has put some plans up and that, you know,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
I want to applaud what's going on here. I've been here since 1975, and this is the first time that I remember sitting down with all of these good numbers and all of this information, and the council and the planning department facing this head on.
We are.
Something that's being done as a community.
Well, we're trying very hard to do it. Yeah, we are trying to get information. Well, we're trying to, when we get the data, we're trying to, then we got to do something, right? Anyway, what was the last? Okay, and the last two things were, do we know what an R1 and R2 zones are? Okay, some of us do. And the last thing was the fair share housing plan, which Janice just talked about. The other question, I know I'm getting the side eye here to hurry up because we don't have that much time. Would you support, all right, here's my kicker question. Would you support development in your neighborhood? You know, so that's, to me, I'm curious to see what the answers will be to that. I think people say, oh yeah, we want affordable housing, but we don't want it next to me. Yeah, exactly. And then the question is, what type of development would you support in your neighborhood to increase the number of affordable housing? So this was also an interesting question. So some of the possibilities were senior housing or assisted living, small scale apartment buildings, well, we don't call them apartment buildings, 2 to 3 family homes, mid-sized apartment building, 4 to 6, mixed use buildings, those are the big things that we see on Bloomfield Avenue, a subdivision of existing lots, you know, which would add density to your neighborhood. Affordable housing, you had mentioned this before, on public land. Like, quite honestly, we don't have a lot of a lot of public land. We have pieces here and there. We have Wildwood, that's a piece of public land. We have New Street. And then we have a tension here in town between keeping public land not built on, because we have problems with our water runoff. So do we want to build on every square footage? You know, it's just things that you have to weigh. You know, is it more important to have affordable housing units or to have less flooding, right? Let's see. And then another one was supportive housing. Everybody know what supportive housing is? Yeah, people who need some kind of social services, perhaps mental health, alcoholism, maybe Covenant House. We have Covenant House here. Battered women's shelters, whatever. That's, you know, kind of support veterans, right? I'm getting there, Susan, don't worry. And then we were looking to see you identify trends in your neighborhood of things that are going on. Like, are you seeing people, single families being converted to 2 families, or vice versa, multifamilies being converted to ones, homes being renovated and sold to developers? Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing. Lots being subdivided, and long-term residents moving out. I mean, you do see some of that. I'd like to just comment on one thing that we brought before. Maybe one of the reasons why we're seeing the older population staying in town and not moving is because of the senior freeze. I mean, I don't know if everybody's familiar with the senior freeze, but when you turn a certain age and you're below a certain income, and the income is quite high now, it's $166,000, your taxes are frozen at a certain rate, and they do not go up. So if my taxes were frozen at $10,000 2 years ago, I get my tax bill this year, my tax bill has gone up to $15,000, the state is going to refund me $5,000. So it's a reason why seniors might not be moving. I think about myself. Do I want to live in my house forever? No. Do I want to move to another town? But it makes sense for me because my taxes stay the same. Well,
So who's paying that?
it's a state thing. Yeah.
$166,000?
That's the income cap. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess you're making more than 166 because you're not familiar with the senior freeze? You're a good catch. Okay. Okay, then we had a couple of questions related to the diversity in Montclair. And asking people, do you think, what was the accent? How well do you think Montclair reflects racial and ethnic diversity? And the answers were very well, somewhat well, neutral, not very well, and not well at all. And then we had an open-ended question, which is going to be really challenging to analyze. But please add any other comments that you have. about this survey. And we'll see what people say and how we can deal with looking at that. Then we get to demographic questions. And we had 2 demographic questions. Basically, the first one is, what ward do you live in? Most people have no clue what ward they live in. So we knew that from running for office, and you know, as at-large people who had to go to all wards. Hey, what ward do you live in? Hey, I don't know. Okay, so to help with that question, we said, what business district do you live in? So people might know that they're near Watchung Plaza, they're near the downtown, they're near the South End. So we figure we'll get a little bit more information from those who don't know what ward they live in. What type of housing do you live in? You know, we asked, you know, basically the same thing that Janice was trying to compile. How many years have you lived in Montclair? Is there a difference between people who've just moved in, what their perceptions are, and people who've lived here for a long time? What is your household income? Interesting answers there. Ooh, because I've seen some of this. I'm like, whoa, okay. Do you rent or own your home? We're trying to see what renters would say versus homeowners. Then what percentage of your household income goes to your mortgage payments? Next, another question, what percentage goes to your rent? What are your annual property taxes? And what's your age group? And I'm almost done. What's your race or ethnicity? How many people live in your household, and do you have children living at home? So that's the basic information. I think it captures a lot. I hope that we'll be able to get good inferences from looking at this when we do the analysis, and that'll help us shape or give information to the planning board. I'm on the planning board. I'll be working with Janice on this housing plan. So we'll see. We worked hard to get it done. Okay? Any questions?
All right, we're down to our last 2 presenters. Thank you, Councilor Lockman. So next up is Lisa Johnson, Dr. Lisa Johnson, as we call her. She's the Environmental and Code Coordinator, and she's going to be talking about some initiatives and programs that she oversees.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. So my name is Lisa Johnson. I work out of the Office of Sustainability in Montclair. We're one of the few municipalities that actually have an Office of Sustainability. There's only about 9 municipalities that do have environmental officers or sustainability officers. So we're very, very fortunate. So my office does a lot of work. So it's me. So there's my email address if you want to contact me. And my assistant too. And we're very, very busy with programs and projects that promote environmental stewardship. So I know I've spoken about this many times, but we still have the Urban and Community Forestry Grant that we had received through the USDA. So this is a 5-year project. We've got 4 years left. And it is to increase our tree canopy, to educate people about the importance of trees. We're also going to be working with Montclair State University, where we will be gathering information over the next 4 years. So every summer we're going to have a green team, and this summer they're going to be doing an inventory. They're going to be capturing the carbon sequestration rates of the trees, and then every year is going to be something different. So it's a great project. If you want a tree in front of your house, if you've got room, you can scan the code. Now everything I'm going to be talking about, you can also go to the website, to the Township website, and go to my office page, and all of this information's here. And I'm also happy to send it to you after the presentation as well. So if you want a tree, scan the code, make the request. We do 2 plantings a year, one in the spring and then one in the fall. And the fall is really like December. So right now we're booked for the spring, but if you want a tree in the fall, please reach out. And if your property, the parking strip in front of your house is adequate, or it works there, we will put a tree there. Okay, so right now we're also working on the recertification for Sustainable Jersey. So right now we have silver status, which is kind of the highest, which is great. And we're recertifying so we can continue to have silver status. We've received about $40,000 in grants from Sustainable Jersey in the past year and a half. And one of the grants received, it was a $20,000 grant. And the project we decided to do with that was a native lawn landscape project. So we put in a native landscape in front of the crescent deck. So this is what it looked like while we're putting in. It was 1,000 native plants, and we had volunteers, and we worked really hard, and it's Not looking too happy right now, but we're coming out of winter. So it will be beautiful. We're going to do the unveiling or the, ribbon cutting. We're going to do it in the spring, but we're going to wait till September when it looks really fantastic. Question? Oh, okay. So in addition to the garden here, we are doing one-on-one consultations with residents in Montclair. So we have landscape architects who will go to residents' properties and do a consult to tell them where they can put native plants, what kind of plants they could put, if they've got invasive plants, how to do it. Really, really amazing. So right now we're full with our consults, but we have a waiting list. So if you want to be on the waiting list, let me know. We're hoping to open that up soon. But we've gotten great feedback from this. We're the only township that has a program like this. And the landscape architects are fantastic, and they say that they see a lot of invasive species that need to be addressed. So that's something to also think about. So in addition to that project, we also received a grant from AARP, and we put in a senior vegetable garden at the Mills building. So if you are 50 and over and you want to learn how to garden and grow vegetables and eat those vegetables, and the excess vegetables go to Tony's Kitchen, you can sign up through Lifelong Montclair. It's every Friday starting April 25th. So with the grant, we were able to build the beds with the Boy Scouts, Troop 13. So here are some photos of build day. It was a fantastic day, great turnout. The troop was amazing. And then again, our vegetable course is being run by Montclair Community Farms. If you're familiar with them, they're right on Orange Road. The topics they're going to cover, the schedule, again, it's going to be a lot of fun. So something else that my office does is education outreach regarding recycling. So I'm just going to ask everybody, plastic bag, is it recyclable? It depends, right? But in our recycling. No, very good. People think it's plastic, it's recyclable, not recyclable. What about your cups from Starbucks? Your plastic iced coffee cup, is that recyclable? It is not recyclable. Some people think because it's plastic, it can be recycled, cannot be recycled, right? Even your paper cups, your coffee comes in, not recyclable. What about your pizza boxes? Never, even if it looks totally clean, in the trash. In the trash, because that oil can actually gunk up the recycling machinery, and that can cause a problem. So we call that wish cycling, right? We wish we could recycle it. We actually can't, unfortunately. So even if it looks clean, do not put it in your recycling. Hardcover books, recyclable. They are recyclable. You got to take off the cover, not the whole book, right? So don't throw away your books. Take off the cover. Put it in your recycling. And then your food containers. If they have 1, 3, or 5, they're stamped with a 1, 2, 5. 1, 2, or 5, yes. Are they recyclable, your food containers? They're not. So the 1, 2, and 5 means that it's made with recyclable material, but it is not recyclable. So anything with food waste goes in the trash. Even if you wash it, goes in the trash. If it's a jar, it's different, like your peanut butter jar, that's recyclable. But if it's your takeout you get from the restaurant, it goes in the trash. And I wanted to make a shout out for a new initiative that we have, Skip the Stuff. Everybody familiar with Skip the Stuff? Skip the Stuff. So restaurants cannot put utensils, condiments, any of the extra plastic in with when you do takeout. So if you notice, unless you ask for it, absolutely, unless you ask for it, so you can ask. And if you notice it happening, please let my office know, or code enforcement. Susan Atman from the Environmental Commission is here and did a lot of the work to get the word out about Skip the Stuff. So thank you, Susan. Do you want to say anything? Did I miss anything?
I'll just say that businesses really like it as well because it lowers their costs. Yeah. So it's a real win for the whole community. We help the environment. You don't have that drop of wood stuff anymore. And just all I want to say is just give businesses a time to transition. And if you see a business that's not complying, just let them know because they're still training their staff.
Yeah, we're being empathetic. So anyway, so here is What you can recycle, I have flyers, big flyers in the back, a poster. If you live in an apartment complex, I'd be happy to give it to you. You could put it in your garbage room. This is also on our website. You can recycle. What you can't recycle, again, no plastic bottle caps, paper products, paper liners. Now, if you do have electronics, you can drop it off at the Department of Community Services every Saturday. And if you don't already have it, Recycle Coach, it's an app on your phone. It will tell you when you could put your garbage out, bulk pickup, recycling, leaves. And if we have any announcements, like if there's a hurricane coming through and we're going to suspend pickup, we will send out a notification through Recycle Coach. So it's an easy app. And you could search, if you have a question about if something's recyclable, you could search it on the app as well. Hazardous Household Waste Day. Essex County does this twice a year, November and May. So the next one is May 3rd in Cedar Grove. And I bolded what we typically throw out. We're not sure what we can throw out. So if you have oil-based paints and stains, even if it's dried, if you have latex paint, you could dry it out and throw it out with your trash, but not oil-based paints. They have to go to the Household Hazardous Waste Day. Pool chemicals, automotive fluids, fluorescent light bulbs, and ballast. Right now we're all switching to LEDs. So what do you do with your fluorescents? Don't throw them out. Put them here. Your batteries, household cleaning fluids, your fire extinguishers, those don't last forever. So if you've had one for like 20 years in the basement, don't throw it out, bring it here. And of course, your aerosol spray cans, spray paints as well. So again, it's like 10 minutes away from here, if that, very close. Yeah.
Spray cans, are they recycled?
Spray paints, I'm sorry, spray paints.
Empty spray can paints?
Yeah.
Are they recyclable or garbage?
You should still bring them here. Hazardous Waste Day, yeah. Yeah, I'll take them for you. I'll pick them up. So we also have our second annual Earth Festival, April 27th. It's going to be at South Park Street from 12 to 4. If you're around, stop by. We're going to have a band and vendors. We're also doing electric vehicle demonstration, produce, so it should be fun. Hopefully the weather's great. Northeast Earth Coalition is also having a cleanup and an Earth Day celebration April 26th from 9 to 12. So if you want to go there and help clean up some of the locations in town that have a lot of trash, please do that. They are a great organization. The Judy Weston Foundation also has events coming up. Ellie Meeks, who's the director of the foundation, is here. All the way in the back, if you want to say anything, but you could go to their website, the Judy Weston Foundation, to learn more about the events that they're doing. And then May 10th, we have our shredding event. So Shred Fest is at the George Innes Annex parking lot. So that is the Montclair High School parking lot on North Fullerton, across from the Department of Community Services. May 10th, 9 to 1. We only have one truck, so the sooner it fills up, then it's going to leave. So I recommend getting there early. And again, this is for your sensitive documents, not for your junk mail, your old letters, right? Sensitive documents. And you stay in your car, you drive up, we put it into the shredder, and then you drive away. We also sell composters, backyard composting, $79.95 if you want to start composting in your backyard. The best thing about composting is we're diverting our food waste so that we're not throwing as much garbage out into our regular trash, and that does save the township money, and it's better for the environment. So if you've got this space and you're interested in backyard composting, please feel free to reach out to me. And we also have another grant through the USDA. This is the Composting and Food Waste Reduction Cooperative Agreement. And with this grant, we're purchasing composters. 2 are going at community schools, Watchung School and Bullock School, and then 1 is going at Montclair Community Farms. So we are purchasing the Rocket Composter, which is an industrial in-vessel composter. It's going to take not just your vegetative waste and your vegetables, your fruits, but also meats and bones and liquids. Yeah, so we're going to work it out. So it's going to be a community site. Pizza, yes. You need your browns, your wood chips, right? So we can process. So it's going to be a drop-off at the farm for the community, only for Montclair residents.
So we can bring compostable stuff there if we don't have space for one on top.
Yes. Yep.
Great.
Yep. It's going to be a nominal fee, very, very little. So the grant's going to cover the most expensive things about composting in New Jersey is the permits through the DEP. So there are bills out, there's a bill out there that's trying to lessen the cost, but until then, we still have to pay for that permit. So that is an issue. But anyway, it's going to be very nominal, cheaper than some of the other organizations that do compost pickup. And we're looking forward to that. So hopefully that'll start in the next couple months. We still have to get the site ready. And then we're still doing the home energy efficiency program. I've talked about this multiple times. If you live, in a house, even if you rent, you could take part in this. And again, if you go to the website and to my page, you can learn more about this. I did it. I saved tons of money. It's very worth it. It does take a long time in order to get it going because it's free. It's paid for by the state. But I had my whole attic re-insulated and I paid nothing. So it was really, really worth it. And that's it. Any questions? I know I just barreled through it. Good. Okay. Thank you.
I wanted to give a big thank you both to Janice and to Lisa because they do an awful lot of grant writing. And as you can see, get money for things that we otherwise may not be able to budget for. So thank you. And let's hope that Trump doesn't decimate all grants. We're in a trying times, but there you go. Thank you.
Okay, my slides. Okay, so I'm the last one. I'm going to thank you everybody for being so patient and engaged. This is, exactly the type of event and interaction that I personally enjoy doing. I'm going to end with some information about what the council has been up to, some legislation and other information, news. Yes, I'll do it. Okay, so, I'll try to make it fun. Wait, the up button or what do I do? Oh, down button, okay. Okay, so we talked. All right, so really quick, these are the rest of the council meetings. I'm sure many of you already know. You can find this information on the website. Just wanted to provide that information. And then also, I think I was talking to a couple of you before. If you didn't already know, you can sign up online to get notifications from the township, so by email, alerts, road closures, but also non-emergency types of things, like you can get the monthly newsletter that our Director of Communications has just started putting out in the last 3 months. There's going to be one published, the April one, and if you sign up, you can go to the website, or I made a QR code, so if anybody who wants to scan this now, you can sign up right now to get alerts. So I'll wait.
The alerts are great. You
Yeah.
keeps you really informed about what's going on in town. Like, for example, our housing survey was sent out with an alert. Yeah.
And the newsletter went out. Newsletter.
Oh, good.
That survey was well thought out.
Yes, Tony. I think our tech director looks like he wants to say something.
Good evening, everyone. So right now it's with Rate Mobile Safety, is the notification system. In 2 to 4 weeks, we will be switching to Everbridge. So we have a new notification system. An email was sent out to all the existing people who signed up to it, gave you an option to opt in or opt out, because that's required by FCC. So, and then the new website, and then the new QR code will be generating in a couple weeks. By the communication director will be posted on the website. So just want to give you some updated information. And then so we signed a contract with them. We in the process. They just finishing set up the server on the cloud. So I'm working with them to roll it out for the Montclair.
Okay, thank you. All right, so really quick, you see us, all 7 of us on the dais at our meetings, but in between meetings, we do a whole lot of work in smaller groups. So it's not, not in quorum. So we set up council committees with particular subject matter. We did it by resolution back on July 30th of last year, just about a month after we took office. And, these are committees where, most legislatures do this, where matters are referred to these committees just for more in-depth analysis, research, discussion. The committees are advisory, so because we're not quorum, we're not empowered to make any decisions or binding decisions. And we provide, these committees can provide recommendations for full council action. And so these are some of the committees that are set up. I'm on the Economic Development Committee, Mobility, for instance, Human Services. Councilor Lockman is on Facilities and Infrastructure and Economic Development, and it's just a sampling of what we have going on. All right, so you already heard about, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the legislation. You've all heard about Skip the Stuff, myself and Councilor Birmingham and also the mayor, we worked on this legislation, and a bunch of municipalities in New Jersey are doing this, other states, and we worked very closely with the Environmental Commission, which also helped us put together these beautiful, logos. We passed out material, like all the businesses, the restaurant owners, the restaurants, the food service providers got a packet in a folder, before the law took effect in March. They have stickers that they can put on their windows. You might have seen them around town at the restaurants. There's also, information that was provided about what exactly a customer has to request and not automatically distributed, and what they can distribute. Because as you know, implementation is important. And see all these happy faces. We we partnered with the township partnered with the Montclair Center BID. Also, our township's economic development coordinator helped. We went door to door to the restaurants, passed out all these packets, answered questions, and these are some of the places that we visited. So lots of happy faces. Okay, so next I'm just going to try to quickly go through some of the legislation that we've been working on in the last several months. We've been pretty busy. You've already heard about this amendment to the sidewalk repair and curb repair ordinance. We passed this on second reading and public hearing on March 11th, and I think Norma has said it's gone into effect as of April 2nd, right? Right. So basically, as Norma mentioned, we had to do this. It was pretty overdue, actually. So for the almost a year, during which we had a law that was unenforceable. And so the major changes that we made were we made it clear who is it going to be actually responsible for determining whether a sidewalk or curb is at the state where it poses a danger to the safety of the public. Before it said the Township Council, we changed that to Division of Code Enforcement. So that is the division within the township that is actually responsible for enforcing this. The previous law actually said that the owner or occupant of the property that abuts the sidewalk would be responsible. So that would include renters, for example. So we took out occupant, and now it's just making it clear that it's the owner. We also changed the number of days that the property owner has from 30 to 45 from the date of notice, or within reasonable time depending on what season it is. And we also made it clear that you need a construction permit to do these repairs. And we also added a clause that if the owner, for whatever reason, can't repair, that the township can actually go on. I mean, if it is dangerous, we want to get it fixed, right? It's a mobility issue. It's a safety issue. So we included language that says that the township can actually make the repair and bill the owner for the cost. Complete streets. This is very exciting. We just did the first reading of this ordinance, and we passed it unanimously on the first reading, so it has to go to second reading, and there's going to be a public hearing at the second reading. And it's technically an amendment to the ordinance, and I apologize. I actually do policy and procedures development and implementation for a living, so I'm sorry if I sound very excited about this stuff, but so technically it's an amendment, right? But and we've had a complete streets policy since 2009, so basically 16 years. However, we wanted to strengthen the policy and make it a law. Right, so it's to give the policy more teeth. Some of the main components are, number one, we are proposing designating actually a staff member within the township that reports to the township manager to oversee the implementation of Complete Streets, the policy. There's also going to be this also calls for the creation of a Complete Streets Oversight Board, which is going to be comprised of staff, and others, governing body members, members of the public who are appointed by the governing body. The intent is basically to continue the work and build on the work of the Vision Zero Task Force, right? So, and we thought that by having an employee that's dedicated to this work, and also having a smaller oversight board that's going to be in charge of, creating checklists, reviewing transportation projects, prioritizing projects, things like that, that there's going to be more accountability built in, right? So that's really what the intent was. There's going to be the ordinance provides for the use of a checklist, like I said, that has to be completed for any transportation projects that affect the public right-of-way. And there is an exception process to be built in, because there might be some cases where, some of the Complete Streets principles can't be applied to a particular type of change or development. So it allows for that, but the Complete Streets director and the town, the oversight board would be responsible for reviewing those things very carefully. And then, we as council people and the township staff, we get notices of, all kinds of problems, road problems in very different ways, right? So, for example, some people do think that there should be delineators on every street corner. Some people think that, there should be a four-way stop or a stoplight there, flashing. So, and there's a cost, right, to all of this. And so we want to be very data-driven also, but we also, want to be able to have some criteria by which we're going to review the project and have a systematic way of prioritizing them. So there's a project prioritization process that is going to be created by the oversight board, and the idea would be to really prioritize the most vulnerable road users, including children, the elderly, disabled, pedestrians, and cyclists. And we don't want to pit. This is the intent is to make our roadways safe for every road users, no matter how they travel. So that includes drivers, and really reduce the risk of death and serious injury when we're traveling on our roads. And then finally, the ordinance calls for an annual program review to make sure that things are being done the way we want them to under the law. Okay, overnight street parking. I know there's somebody out there who's interested. So also, soon after we took office, we started getting a lot of emails from people who want to be able to park their cars overnight on their block. They're especially on streets where there are a lot of multifamily homes, and there's not enough space for parking for all the tenants. So out of the mobility committee, Councilor Williams, actually, who was actually not a member of the mobility committee, but took a special interest because many of the emails that we were getting were from residents of the 3rd and 4th wards. So he actually spearheaded this effort to look at what streets should be added. And there was a lot of analysis of data, ticketing. We tried to create a rubric to decide which street should be added. And so the amendment was introduced just on Tuesday, and it was passed on first reading, but it still has to go through second reading before it's passed. And so the thing that we want people to remember is that if your street is added, or if your block is added, it doesn't mean that you can park overnight, but you still have to purchase a permit from the township. I think it's $45 a month. A month. Well, but I mean, I have to say that currently, without it, you have to pay. I think it's like 10 or. Is it $5 or $10? $5, yeah, for a night. So
most of the neighborhoods that need the parking can't afford it. All right, let's be real about this. All right, Upper Montclair doesn't need it. All right, the 4th ward, the 3rd ward needs it. Why does it have to be $45 a month? Yeah. Who's making that money? Where does it go? Explain that to me.
All I'll say is that that's what it's been for.
I don't care what it's been.
I don't care what it's been either. We both live in a place where we park our cars. It's not about us. It's about this guy behind us and people like him. I don't mean to point you out, but it's not fair. There are areas on Willow Street.
I pay more in tickets than anything else. I just want parking.
There are people on Willow Street.
People are moving out of town because of that.
Susan, that's something maybe we can bring up.
Yeah, we can definitely bring this up and raise this to. As part of our discussion. Yeah, yes, that's right, and this is what these meetings are for. We need to hear about it, okay?
It's a great idea that you're doing it, though.
It has to be looked at.
Yes, but and it is a controversial issue because we also hear from residents who think that people should be able to, and you should be able to park on your street. Every street should have on-street parking, and other people have a problem with that, right? Yes?
That becomes a safety issue.
Exactly. That's.
There's a lot of blocks that are that do allow overnight parking, and have for many, many years. Is there a requirement now to pay for a permit?
It's always been.
So there are some people are doing it now?
Yes.
Okay, just asking.
Right. That's not a new thing. I mean, the payment thing is not a new thing.
What about what's causing the need for the on-site park? Aren't there zoning laws that you have to have so many spots for? I mean, that's pretty routine, isn't it?
Well, some of the areas never had the spots, like New
They're
Street,
older,
Mission
yeah.
Street never had the spots.
Right.
They just never had them.
The old neighborhoods.
They don't have driveways.
The old neighborhoods are older neighborhoods. Whether they're one family, two family, or multi-families, maybe 3 or 4 families. They're close, they don't have driveways, all right? And it really has to be looked at in where they are, all right? I mean, Upper Montclair, I don't want to go down this road, but even some of the areas we have in the 2nd and 3rd ward, we have rules. I can't have somebody park a car in front of my house, do all the taxes I pay, and they have to go out and move in 4 hours or 2 hours.
Yeah.
Go up to Montclair. Go up there, no signs. How is that fair?
Okay.
I mean, we do have parking issues.
We do. To be continued. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Okay, bond ordinance. You may have heard that this came out of a recommendation from the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee. It has passed first reading unanimously once again, March 25th. And what the council approved at the first reading is $5 million bond ordinance for some really long overdue infrastructure repairs. And basically it's, to pay for HVAC. I mean, you all know that the library, the last several years has had to be closed many days during, even, when the temperature was just in the 70s. And so that's really, to me, that's not acceptable. I mean, the library is a space where everybody is free to go, learn, children, like the third floor, the children's floor was closed, almost every day, some weeks. And so, that's a space that that is very helpful to many, many people in this town. So so this council decided that it was time to invest some money into making these repairs. And some of these projects are going to help save money for utilities costs. So that was, yes, exactly. All right, the other thing that's happening right now is we are doing a search for a permanent township attorney. Mr. Burr, who served for several years, left his position. So we appointed at the end of December a very good interim. His name is Joseph Garcia. He works for a law firm. And he has expressed that he he cannot continue past this month. So anyway, before that, we had started the process of looking for, doing this search. And this is sort of where we are. We re-advertised the position after tweaking the job description a bit. And we have started to collect resumes. We've also gotten proposals from some law firms from an RFP that we issued back in November. And I just kind of wanted to share information about what, because some people actually are a little confused about what the township attorney's job is. And it's really, they're legal counsel for the entire, their client is our township, right? So they serve as the legal advisor for the whole council, work very closely with the township manager, the clerk, the departments. They have to, they have to give really sound legal advice in order to help us make decisions. They do things like the attorney should be able to prepare and review ordinances and substantive resolutions, review and approve contracts and other legal documents. They also handle litigation that is not covered by our insurance. And basically oversee the legal department of our township. So we're going to have some discussions about, how we want to go about making this hire, but it is an extremely important position, and we need someone who not only has the experience and the level of knowledge, but also it's a trust relationship. So we're taking this very seriously. Okay, and then next, I was asked by Judy Hurley, who's the Director of Senior Services, to share about this information session that is taking place next Tuesday at 1 o'clock at Wally Choice Community Center. That's at Glenfield Park. And it's all about the new combined, they're going to talk about the new combined form for senior homeowners and renters age 65 and older. So I think there are flyers actually back there on the desk if you want to grab one on your way out. Another thing that I wanted to just share with you about is Montclair was invited to join a regional flood mitigation committee. So as you know, Montclair and our surrounding towns have experienced, more and more flooding in our communities affecting businesses, our residences, our infrastructure. So we were recently invited by Legislative District 34 legislators, and this group includes Assembly members Vanessa Ann Morales, our Representative Mikey Sherrill, who felt that it was important for Montclair to be involved in this, and mayors and council members, engineers, and administrators from these towns. And so I thought it was very important for us to get involved. We share waterways. If one town fixes a flooding problem, I mean, we have to think about how it'll affect others, right? So we are, this group is in the first steps of assessing, the areas that are much more flood prone, and to figure out what the underlying causes are. And we want to develop some targeted mitigation strategies, short-term and long-term. And the idea is to have a coordinated approach and apply for funding, seek funding together, because we don't know, first of all. I just read in the paper the other day that the administration is looking to cut funding to that would help states and towns with flooding and stormwater. So we don't know what the situation is going to be, but at least we can have this in place, this group in place, and we can really think about how we can work together. And then there's an ad hoc public transportation working group that I formed back in February. This is something that is of particular interest to me. It also is consistent with the whole complete streets concepts. And there are two subcommittees that came out of an initial meeting back in February. One is looking at approaching New Jersey Transit with proposals, with requests to expand train service on the weekends specifically. Right now, the train to and from New York only on the weekends stops at Bay Streets and starts at Bay Streets and runs every 2 hours. So we'd like to, we are talking about asking for an hourly service. And also looking, there's a separate subcommittee that is looking at the possibility of creating a town shuttle bus or a jitney service. So we're just in the beginning of these, but there's been a lot of work done so far. There may be another survey coming out of this work. And I'm currently working on getting a meeting with some, the top levels, somebody at the top levels of New Jersey Transit. And that's it. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? If you don't have questions, I'm happy to stick around. I think Councilor Lockman is also, and really thank you again for being so engaged. Yes, sir?
I just have to say, I really appreciate what you all do. You guys work your butt off. Yeah. And also the staff as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, please. We need you guys to participate. We need all of you to participate and tell us, your opinions. Don't be shy. So thank you again.